are you today? My name's Judy Arico, or Miss Judy, and I'm from the Community Library of Allegheny Valley up in Natrona Heights. Welcome to our bedtime story time. This is my friend Ploppers. So let's sing our song, shall we? Hello and how are you? Hello and how are you? Welcome to our story time. Hello and how are you? Hello and how are you? Hello and how are you? Welcome to our story time. Hello and how are you? Thank you. Now let's do our ABC, shall we? A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, and Z. Now let's count. Oh, look at our bears. Can you help me, Ploppers? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now let's listen to our first story, shall we?
Bear feels scared. Bear feels scared. Written by Karma Wilson. In the deep, dark woods by the strawberry vale, a big bear lumbers down a small, crooked trail. Bear's tummy growls as he looks for a snack, but it's cold, 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 so the bear turns back. He is not home yet when the sun starts to set, and the bear feels scared. Bear shakes and he shivers as a storm starts to howl. Bear mutters, "What is that? Are there spooks on the prowl?" The path gets dimmer and the sky grows gray. Bear looks to and fro, but he can't find his way. He huddles by a tree and he wails, "Poor me!" And the bear feels scared. Meanwhile, back in the warm, cozy lair, friends start to worry for their poor lost bear. "It is late," Mouse squeaks, "and our bear doesn't roam. There's a storm," cries Hare. "Shouldn't Bear be home?" Wren tweets from his perch, "We must all go search. What if Bear feels scared?" The friends bundle up and begin to prepare. They form a search party for their lost friend Bear. But Bear is all alone and he sheds big tears. There's a noise in the forest and he feels big fears. Bear trembles in the wind. How he longs for a friend. And the bear feels scared. Badger lights a lamp and he shouts, "Let's go!" All the birds search high while the rest search low. With a flounce and a flutter they set off together. They trudge down the trail through the wild, wet weather. They call, "Ho, Bear! Are you there? Are you there?" And the bear feels scared. But he perks up his ears. Is it Mole calling out? And is that Hare's voice? Does Bear hear him shout? Wren, Owl, and Raven all squawk from the tree. It is Bear! He is there! And they sigh, big sighs. By a tree waits Bear 10 feet from his lair, and the bear looks scared. With a flap and flurry, all the friends gather near. They give him bear hugs, they calm his bear fears. Later in the night, all clustered in a heap, the bear spins stories while his friends fall asleep. Cuddled up tight, they snore through the night, and the bear feels safe. The end.
Welcome back from our first story. I decided it was time to get up and move. Are you ready? Let's do our silly song first. I'm going to shake, shake, shake my sillies out. Shake, shake, shake my sillies out. Shake, shake, shake my sillies out. Wiggle my waggles away. We're going to clap, clap, clap our crazies out. Clap, clap, clap our crazies out. Clap, clap, clap our crazies out. Wiggle our waggles away. We're going to stomp, stomp, stomp our sillies out. Stomp, stomp, stomp our sillies out. Stomp, stomp, stomp our sillies out. Wiggle our waggles away. We're going to yawn, yawn, yawn our sleepies out. Yawn, yawn, yawn our sleepies out. Yawn, yawn, yawn our sleepies out. Wiggle our waggles away. We're going to clap, clap, clap our crazies out. Clap, clap, clap our crazies out. Clap, clap, clap our crazies out. Wiggle our waggles away. Now let's do a little bending and stretching, shall we? Bend and stretch, reach for the stars. Here comes Jupiter, there goes Mars. Bend and stretch, reach for the skies. Stand on tippy toes, oh, so high. Now let's listen to our second story, shall we?
A Story for Bear, written by Dennis Hazley. A Story for Bear. One day a young bear was nosing through the bushes when he saw something lying on the ground. He looked at it with curiosity. He sniffed at its tiny marks. Then the bear took it in his teeth and brought it back to his cave. Through the years, the bear looked at the paper with wonder. It seemed as far away and as mysterious as the moon. One summer afternoon, the bear ranged further than usual from where he lived. He followed a scent until he came to a clearing, and there he saw several strange things all at once. There was a cabin, and brightly colored laundry hanging on a line, and a woman. From behind a thick tree, he watched as the woman sat down and opened a mysterious square thing she was carrying. His nose tickled from the wonderful smells of the cabin, bacon and coffee and bread, but he gazed only at her, trying to understand what she was doing as she held the book. He felt calm as he watched her. When she closed the book, he ran away. Day after day he returned. He managed to get closer to her and watch from behind a near tree, his thick bare head just peeking around. He had never seen anything like this. Sometimes, as she gazed at the book, she laughed out loud. Other times, she lowered it and looked away, but without really seeing anything, he thought. Still other times, she appeared afraid and held it tightly, and once, when the sun slanted through the trees, he saw her place it gently on her lap and close her eyes. Later she went into her cabin, and he lumbered slowly through the woods back to his cave. When he heard a blue jay call, he looked up quickly because he thought for a moment it was the woman laughing. One afternoon the woman was not in her yard. Slowly, his head moving from side to side, he walked toward her things. With one big paw he knocked a book off the pile to land face down in the dirt. He pushed it with his nose and scratched at its brown cover with his claws, trying to turn it over. Finally, one of his claws caught under the cover, and the book flipped over, opened. The bear moved his nose forward, then closed it again, and his head snapped back. Once more he tried, and this time it stayed open. He took 2 lumbering steps toward it and put his big head close. There, on the page, were row after row of marks, tiny marks, like those on that piece of paper in his cave. He stared at them, while his nose filled with a sense of paper, glue, ink, and her touch. He didn't see the woman walking up behind him. When he finally heard her, his head swung around. For a moment their eyes locked. The bear pawed once more at the book, then turned and ran away. The next day he saw the woman sitting in her chair, the book with the brown cover on her lap. She was looking into the trees, searching for something. When she finally saw him, she smiled. Come here, bear. After a while he moved out from the tree, and then slowly he took a few steps toward her, with his big head swaying from side to side. When he grew near to her, but not so near that he couldn't run, he lay down and looked up at her. She waited a moment longer. Then she carefully opened the book, and softly she began to speak. There once was a sailor, she read, who had to travel for many years over the sea before he could return home. The bear gazed up at her as she said the words and turned the pages. He couldn't understand any of what she was saying, but as he listened to the sound of her voice, happiness washed over him like waves. He returned day after day all that summer. When she read in a fearful voice about the sailor getting lost, he felt afraid. When she laughed at how the sailor played tricks, the bear would feel strangely happy. And when she read of his love, the bear looked up at the woman with wide eyes and watched as her gentle mouth formed the words. All the words she read made a story for her bear. Whenever she read, he felt the waves of mysterious feelings carried by her voice. Sometimes her voice was soothing and the bear grew peaceful, and sometimes she sounded excited or scared, and his hair bristled and he gave a low growl, and sometimes her sounds were tender and he looked up at her and watched her fingers gently lifting a page and a page and a page. These feelings often stayed inside of him as he lumbered back to his world at the end of the day, and sometimes, in the babbling of a brook, he would think he heard her again and become quite happy. One afternoon he returned to the cabin. There was a chill in the air. She put down her book, looked at the bear, and said, I wish Oh, how I wish you could read these books when I'm away for the winter." Then she smiled at him, and the bear, seeing her smile, felt lightness in his heart, and she began to read aloud again. When next he came, he was carrying something in his mouth. It was the scrap of paper from his cave, with its mysterious marks. He laid it by her books. "Bear," she said. He knew by now that this was her word for him, and he lifted his head. "Bear, did you bring this for me?" Then she read it in her gentle voice as if it were a story he was giving to her. "Dear Eliza, your father and I have been cheered by your letter. We picture you often, living near the woods where we summered. I remember days of berry picking and golden light shining through tall trees." When the bear next returned, the leaves were changing color. When he reached the cabin, he saw what had changed there as well. She was not in her usual place waiting for him. The bear walked into her yard, taking a few steps and moving his big head from side to side. He walked this way up to where her chair had been. There, under the tree where she usually sat, were her books. There were many of them, more than he had ever seen, lying on a cloth, fallen leaves and pine cones on their covers. She had left them there for him, along with a piece of paper, as if she'd wished he could read it. "For my bear." He looked at what she'd left him with his big head closed. He understood that she had gone as silence surrounded him. Then, tenderly as he could, he put his teeth around the book with the brown cover and carried it away. All that afternoon he made the long journey from his winter cave to her yard and back again through the forest, carrying her books with their covers of green and red and black, their words of sailors and goddesses and far-off lands, while the stream whispered and the blue jays called. That night, as the moon rose like a white page with mysterious marks, he lay among the hard covers of her books. Finally he slept, and while he slept he heard her voice, gentle and near. She was telling him a tale of adventure and magic and love. And all that winter, before she came back in the spring, whenever he put his nose to the pages or touched the covers with his claws, she was there, reading to him. The end.
Welcome back from our second story. It's almost time to go, but I wanted to tell you that up at the library on Broadview Boulevard in Natrona Heights, we're having our summer reading program start this month. Lots of activities going on Saturday or family fun days. You can come and paint kindness rocks and do all sorts of things. And story time will be here at the library at 10 o'clock on Tuesday or down at the park in Trenham on noon on Tuesdays. So I hope you can join us if you can. And let's do our skidamarink, shall we? Skidamarink-a-dink-a-dink, skidamarink-a-doo. I love you. Skidamarink-a-dink-a-dink, skidamarink-a-doo. I love you. I love you in the morning and in the afternoon. I love you in the evening underneath the moon. Oh, skinnamarink-a-dink-a-dink, skidamarink-a-doo. I love you. And ploppers too. See you next time.